Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Friends. But I am merely an opening act, performing an original piece in 5 acts, immortalizing the journey of the Hands of Fate. Please welcome the Apollo Players! More applause as Arathorn leaves the stage, and a group of like a dozen or so performers rises to the stage. They all scurry off into the wings, leaving a single woman on stage, dressed in pure white togas and a white cloth over her eyes. You see the woman slowly rise into the air, causing the audience to immediately pay attention. And from your vantage point, you can see one of the performers in the wings muttering a few arcane words, causing the effect on stage. But all eyes are on the floating woman. Hark! Danger comes to Delphi once more! Quick! Gather my new champions! It's only now you realize, 99% of the people in Delphi have no idea what the Oracle looks like, because this is definitely supposed to be the Oracle, and does not look remotely like the Oracle. But just then, the Oracle is whisked off stage, and a new player enters. This looks like a boy, maybe 13 or so, with purple paint all over his body, and a black toga on. Another performer begins beating a drum as the purple boy does a rhythmic tribal dance before it crescendos, and he closes his eyes. And you see, as he does so, his eyelids have been painted white, producing a weird effect where it almost looks like his eyes are just pure white when his eyes are closed. And as that happens, small bulbs of light appear one by one in the air above him. And it's only now you realize this is supposed to be Anura. A very weird, very budget Anura. Then a new scene. But the drumming continues. This time, a lute player joins in. A young man comes on stage with an eye patch over one eye, the wrong eye, and you immediately know it's supposed to be Ryujin. Other performers come on with this Ryujin. There's a short dance fight sequence before Ryujin stands in the center of the stage, focuses his energy, and does some weird, kung fu-esque pose. Then he reaches behind his back to grab something. You see him pull out a long metal tube. You see him point the tube at his enemies one by one, each time pressing some sort of button, causing a splash of water to burst from the tip and strike each of them in the face. The audience roars with laughter as the bad guys get propelled backward, all exaggerated. Then they all scurry off the stage. What follows is like a scene out of Scooby-Doo. A flautist joins the band as a man carrying a cardboard drawing of a scary monster rushes on stage, pursued by a little girl in a black cloak wielding a dagger. The fake Ilmay and the monster run a complicated route around the stage, even at one point descending into the audience as the crowd laughs and cheers. Then the next scene, with a mandolin joining the band. A heavily armored man comes on stage, and you see there's a weird sort of glossiness to his hands, as if they're covered in lotion or gel. Another cardboard monster comes out, and the man pulls 2 circular blades out from behind his back and throws them at the monster. You see 2 performers dressed entirely in black grab the blades and slow motion guide them towards the monster, knocking him dead. Then the man stands in the center of the stage with his arms out to his sides. You hear some more arcane words from the wings, and both his hands ignite into flame. The crowd oohs as the performer rushes off stage and dunks his hands in 2 waiting tubs of water. And finally, a vocalist joins the band, a soprano, who begins wordlessly adding to the music as a golden-haired boy in a yellow toga comes on stage. The crowd has cheered each of the heroes' entrances, but there's definitely a little something extra on this one. The fake Adagio just stands center stage, taking in the applause, before kneeling on one knee and lifting his head towards the sky. At that moment, you hear more arcane words, and you all immediately avert your eyes as the actor is suddenly illuminated in bright daylight. The audience recoils as then they immediately begin cheering and applauding. Once this daylight fades, you see the other members of the Hands of Fate have rejoined Adagio. And what follows another sort of dance battle that again makes you realize the people of Delphi have no idea what goes on in the gauntlet. There's a great many cardboard monsters that they fight, though it seems like Adagio always happens to get the killing blow. Until finally they're fighting what looks like maybe some sort of manticore or something, and Anura gets impaled through the chest. The performer falls down to the ground dramatically, and Adagio grabs their body, looks up to the heavens. No! Another wave of applause. All the performers stand up, bow, and leave the stage as Arathorn returns. Then the Apollo players come back, who return and tell a highly dramatized interpretation of Anura's resurrection, including a moment where all 4 remaining members of the group slit their palms open and bleed on the wound. And Apollo himself makes an appearance in that one, played by an older actor wearing an extravagant headdress and greeted with a fresh round of cheers from the crowd. Then more of the Apollo players, this time heroically fighting off dragon wormlings throughout the streets of Delphi. There were even moments where the people in the audience throw things at the cardboard dragons, and the performers mime eating them off the ground. It's great. Crowd's loving it. Then the Apollo players are back with a dramatic and sorrowful retelling of Phaeton's death, which greatly elongates the process and includes an entirely fictional moment where Apollo himself descends to the city and converses with his 3 sons. You see a fitting, beautiful farewell to King Laethus as he takes the crown off his head and lays it on the head of Phaeton. Then, the final part of the Apollo players' performance. This one centering on the fight with Aruxal in the council chambers. More so than the Anvil Arm or Caro, Aruxal's cardboard cutout is absolutely despised by the audience. They throw things, they boo, they yell obscenities at him. It's a lot. And there's another extravagant dance fight between him and the Hands of Fate that ends with the actors all looking at each other, nodding, and then separating the cardboard Aruxal from the performer holding him, and then beating the performer up. The audience cheers and laughs, and all the players take one final bow before giving the stage once again to Headmaster Arathorn.